William McDonough, and it is a privilege to speak to you today. I am a designer, and I see design as the first signal of human intention. So, what is our intention? Is it to leave the world worse than we found it? Perhaps it could be leaving it better than we found it. So I think rather than simply following the same path which has led us to places where we have immense amounts of waste or climate change or toxification, things like that. What if we follow the laws of nature? That excites me as a designer, to use nature as a model and a mentor. This is what humans have done since ancient times. And one thing I always like to ask myself is, what if we could design buildings like trees? What if buildings could actually make oxygen, sequester carbon, fix nitrogen, distill water, and so on? Wouldn't that be marvelous? So the idea of having positive design is critical. In 1989, I designed a tower for Warsaw, Poland, and it ended up being on the front page of the Wall Street Journal because I had called for 10 square miles of trees to be planted to deal with the carbon emissions from coal burning to build a building and to operate it. Ever since then, I've been working with these ideas, and now we see green architecture coming, and we see sustainability, and what we call cradle to cradle design. What is cradle to cradle? Well, instead of cradle to grave, where we see a linear system of take and make waste, and these things are lost our utility, we see cradle to cradle, materials that come from the biosphere or come from the technosphere. So we have products of consumption that can go back to soil, products of service that we get to use, and then we can put back into the economy. There was a recent article in the journal Nature which said that the dry mass weight of human-made things now exceeds the dry mass weight of all living things. The human production on the planet's surface is now larger than life itself. So if we think about what that means, we should start to think about what kind of protocols could we use to design with the laws of nature and help reintegrate these systems so we find the balancing point. So we use 5 goods. There are 5 goods. Good materials, good economies, good energy, good water, and good lives. Because once we start to put those 5 goods together, we realize that they are all predicates of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that have been identified by the United Nations as noble and exciting prospects for our human designs. When we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, we realize too that the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's research and development and innovation priorities relate to meeting the sustainable needs of a country. Health and wellness, sustainable environment, energy and industrial leadership, and economics of the future. So these things all come together by design. So my first trip to the kingdom was in 2018. I was invited to join the advisory board for the Red Sea project, which is an astonishing development, originally starting at a lagoon that was more than 2,000 square kilometers with 92 islands. It's the center of Red Sea Global, and it now is inspiring so many people because the theme that we've chosen is regenerative tourism. That's incredible because it means we have people who can come and regenerate themselves there, as well as a place where we regenerate the mangroves and the various turtles and the dugong and species that we want to celebrate. So it's an astonishing project and worthy of everybody's attention. While I was there, I was also working with the World Economic Forum as the chair of the Meta Council for the Circular Economy, which was based on Cradle to Cradle and the circular economy, but also was invited by His Royal Highness to look at the idea of integrating carbon into the circular economy and where did it fit. And it was astonishing to be able to work together with people here in the kingdom and think about how to integrate into a circular carbon economy and the role that carbon will play. We prepared this, CAPSAR and others, for the G20, and it was presented in Riyadh in March 2020. And it was endorsed by the world leaders in the following months. Now it's part of the National Energy Plan. Following the G20, there is an international movement, as you've probably seen, to look at the idea of net zero for companies and countries. Saudi Arabia has stated it will be net zero by 2060 for Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. And so this is part of the agenda. And this idea of being net zero should be considered carefully, because what we're saying is let's be less bad until we have net zero bad. Fine, that looks like a chart. It starts high on the left and goes down to the right. And that's important, let's do that. But at the same time, we can have a chart that goes from the left up to the right and be net positive with the things we want to see, the good things. Let's do both at the same time. So when we see an opportunity to assess choices, and then we can sort them as good, bad, and then we get on with it, we can find ourselves, by being less bad and being more good, we can start our direction toward a net positive approach. And that approach is really quite wonderful, because it means we can start thinking about design as a positive act and think of positive design agendas and frameworks. And we've been using this for many years with buildings like the space station on Earth for NASA, which produces 140% of the energy it requires from renewables, the headquarters for YouTube in California, which is very low carbon footprint, as well as renewably powered, and also the Ford factory for the River Rouge, which is one of the world's largest green roofs. Let me close with the idea that, in a sense, all sustainability can be seen as being a local act, because it's local somewhere. And right now, if we're building in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we're building in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And what is local to this place? One thing that surprised us, and now working as a distinguished research professor as part of the program at KAUST in near Jeddah University, and we have found that we can invent a process for treating dune sand, which is little spheres, to become as effective as sharp sand, and we can start to use the sand dunes for concrete. This is an important thing, because we realize we need to work with local materials. And if we look at, for example, the Burj Khalifa, the reports are, for example, that the sand, some of which was imported all the way from Australia, is a real serious question. Can we be importing sand to the Middle East on the other side of the planet? So let's use local materials, and we found a way to do that. That's very exciting. It should be exciting for everyone who wants to build in the kingdom. So let me just conclude this by saying, all sustainability is local. Welcome to building in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.